Revan was a renowned Jedi, Sith, and in between gray Jedi, or pretty much just a Force wielder. Um, okay, let me just say, this guy was badass. Like, everything he did was badass. He was a badass Jedi, a badass Sith, like Darth Revan, the Prodigal Knight, Revan the Butcher, or just simply known as the Reverend or the Reverend Christ. Like, whatever he was always doing awesome things. Like he led the Jedi's in the Mandalorian War, the Splinter Group. He was a badass Sith Lord during the Jedi Civil War. Like everything, like this was my favorite character in the expanded universe. Like this was my favorite Jedi Sith character throughout the expanded universe. Like everything he does was great, and also the fact that he was technically your player, basically anything you wanted to be, and a lot of times, a lot of people prefer the light side. I think some people prefer the dark side. And like this Jedi was always unconventional. Like he would use a blaster, he would use swords, he would not just use a lightsaber. He and like he was possibly one of the last remaining defiant Jedi of his era. Like for a while, the Jedi just conformed to their corrupted ways, and Reverend tried to change that, but thought this was a war not worth fighting. Even though I would argue, yes, it is. It totally is. Since he believed love was also essential, and the Jedi were like, shun him, punish him, exile him, treat him like he's a Sith, even though he abandoned the dark side and became a redeemer, a savior, a conqueror, a hero, a villain. He was pretty much every aspect of a character that you would want to see. And Malik said this: "You are all these things, Reverend, and yet you are nothing. In the end, you belong neither to the light nor the darkness. You will forever stand alone." And in a way, Darth Malik was actually right. His former Sith apprentice, or his former apprentice overall, um, he was kind of right. Like Reverend would stand alone when he fought against the Sith Emperor after the Exile was killed. He would be pretty much the last remaining of his kind for 300 years, like of his era. Like after the Jedi Civil War, he was the last one of his kind, and to be a 300-year-old Jedi and still be awesome is an accomplishment. Like he died twice. His mind split in two to becoming the light side Reverend that we all know, and becoming the badass Dark Lord of the Sith that everyone loved. Like everything Reverend was awesome to me. Like I thought when I first learned that your character was Reverend when I was playing Knights of the Old Republic, I thought this is a genuine plot twist to me. Like I was young, like if I was older and I was playing, I would say, okay, yeah, you're Reverend. That makes sense. Like that would explain the visions. But when I was a kid, I like it was awesome. Like it was awesome to get this big plot twist. And like and he was very charismatic. He was a vocal critic of the Order's inactivity during the ongoing Mandalorian Wars between the Republic and the Neo Crusaders, and then he led a movement in defiance against the Council's wishes and taking on the name Reverend. He donned the mask of a fallen Mandalorian, which is now the symbolized mask everyone pretty much yearns to wear. Like for a time, I kept seeing a lot of people saying, "Hey, I want to wear that mask Reverend wears. Like I want to wear it. It's awesome." And I have to agree, it is totally awesome to see him wear that mask. Like every time, like in the Old Republic MMO, in the Knights of the Old Republic games, I would always wish, okay, is the mask available? I want to wear the mask. It's totally awesome. And luckily, there are costumes or mods where you could wear the mask, which, like I said, is awesome. And like he was very unconventional for a Jedi. Like I said, he used guns, he used swords, he used anything that was not not your typical average lightsaber guy. And he later would be very unconventional when um, he used the mass shadow generators to defeat the Mandalorians, which I thought might have went too far. Like you were already winning the war, why go that far? But like he took down Mandalore the Ultimate. He went and said, "You know what? We just won this war. Let's go attack the Sith. Let's go attack them." And sadly, he would be corrupted by the negative verse of the negative side of the Force and become the Sith Lord that we would later like to see and wonder how awesome is this guy. Like, this guy was a military genius. He was pretty much the Anakin Skywalker of his days. Like, at times I thought, is this guy a representation of what the Chosen One is? Like, that was at times I thought he was the Chosen One at times, because everything he was doing, like, he was a Jedi, he was a Sith, he was pretty much both, and then he became none of those and led his own faction. And I thought, he doesn't really act like a Jedi or acts like a Sith. He kind of acts like himself, and that's kind of awesome. Because think about this: when would the Jedi ever want to remember a guy that wasn't your typical Jedi? Like, and he would also be the catalyst for the Rule of Two, for Darth Bane's Rule of Two system, where Darth Bane found a holocron of Revan and later destroyed it on Leon, and that would be the basis for his Rule of Two. And Revan also knew how to break the Mandalorians. Like, after killing Mandalore, he hid the mask of Mandalore and pretty much destroyed the clans. And so he knew what he was thinking. He knew what to do. He knew what he was trying to do. And Revan got a little cocky when he became a Dark Lord of the Sith, when he started saying, you know what? I'm thinking more about myself for this. I want to form my own Sith Empire. Let's screw the Emperor. Let's do it our own style. And that would set up his eventual return to the light side. So he was virtually everything and anything that you would expect from the Chosen One, in my opinion. Like, he was this generation's Chosen One at that time. Like, Reverend was awesome. He was always doing this. He had an awesome crew with Mission Veo and all these other characters, including his love interest Bastila. Like, and the fact that he sacrificed meeting, ever seeing his son and seeing his wife again, to sacrifice his peace and tranquility he was having, to go and confront this emperor and the empire and stop them, only to be held captive for 3 years. Wow. But then the exile came in. His former lieutenant came and rescued him, and then they failed again. So there was a lot of factors into Revan's capture, and he would live on for another 300 years, secretly dueling with the Emperor, which could explain why he didn't technically win the Galactic War. It was just like, we kind of won, but really didn't. The Republic's still in existence, so that could be attributed to Revan. And okay, let's be honest. HK-47. Who loves HK-47? He built HK-47. Like, wow. And they may, and I don't recall this, but I think they indicated that Revan was responsible for Malik's deformed face, where he cut off his jaw, and I was like, damn! That's kind of cruel. Like, you literally cut his jaw off? Wow. Okay. And, but, like I said, like, he would get advice from, and he also had very multiple masters, which I kind of thought, like, okay, so let me get this straight. He can have, like, the Giant Masters can only have one apprentice, but yet the Padawan can have multiple masters. Yeah, that seems kind of fair. Like, he would have the Sith Lord Darth Trayana, formerly known as Kreia. He would have Master Zar, Master Kai. Like, there were all these different masters that he learned from, about both the light and the dark side of the Force, or as I say, the positive and the negative side of the Force. And he was pretty much an all-rounder, and he later became an informal master to the Jedi Exile, became an informal master to Scourge, the Sith Lord, and his apprentice was Darth Malak, and also his master, he was also learning under Dorak. Not really much was known about that, but everyone remembers Kreia, Darth Trayana, like, everyone remembers that. But Reverend was so many things. Like, he was possibly one of the best Jedi's they ever had, best Sith Lord that was ever seen. Like, this guy was pretty much all-arounder. Like, I don't think there can ever be another Jedi or Sith like him. Like, never before, never again. Well, everyone, this was Neo Reality Entertainment. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and donate, and stay tuned for more.